just go ahead and get started. I don't think I have this configured, so you guys will get interrupted as people join and get out of the meeting. I hope that's not the case, but let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. All right, guys, so this training is on how to pivot your real estate business to online and generate organic, high quality and local real estate leads and customers. Now, I also have in parentheses in here without having to spend a ton of money or have a steep learning curve. Now, everything is in the title, right? I do want to go over some house cleaning items with you guys real quick. And let me go to my next screen. So house cleaning items. Number one is this training is about an hour long-ish. I stress the ish. I did put together the slide deck to keep me on track. This is a this is training that is let me do that. This is training that typically is from a 30,000 foot view down. So it's kind of an overall strategy. We're not going to go into the nitty gritty. Sometimes I do go off course, but my goal is to keep this around an hour because most studies show that humans are like, let's do it like this. Humans have an attention span like smaller than a goldfish. So I typically, when you get going too long, you lose people. And then you lose the content and the delivery of the content that you provide them. So I'm going to try to keep this around an hour. Number two is if you have any questions, there's two options you guys have. I want you to ask your question. So either A, unmute yourself. Let me make sure that I have allow participants to unmute themselves. I do have that. Or two, hit the chat box. Now, I have three screens operating right here, so I'm kind of DJing this at the same time. But if you have a question, hit me in the chat box. Claudia made it into here. And let me make sure that I have it, whereas everybody's mute participants on entry. Good. If you have any questions, again, unmute yourself or just hit me up in the chat box. I'm trying to do everything all at the same time and I will get to your questions. And then number three, if I freeze or if I disappear, that is a bandwidth issue typically. I don't think that AT&T, Comcast, or any of the other internet service providers expected everybody on planet Earth, or at least in our market, to be home, doing a bunch of videos, doing a bunch of webinars, watching Netflix. I don't think that they built out their systems like that. So while I've frozen and disappeared prior to us all being confined to home, it is happening more frequently, but just stick around. I do have some redundancies. I have, if worst case scenario, I can always jump on my cell phone and finish the presentation that way. If I'm not back within a few minutes, then there's chances are I'm not going to come back, but please just give me the benefit of the doubt, stick around. So that's it for the house cleaning items, and just a little brief introduction to who I am to kind of set the stage for this training. I'm a fan of, if you want dieting advice, you don't go to a really heavy person. If I was a martial arts instructor when I was younger, I was a Marine when I was younger, and I always believed that if you want to learn how to self-defense, you don't go to a white belt. So a little bit about me. I'm the Director of Development for Century 21 Masters. For those of you that are not in California, we are a large Century 21 affiliate here in Southern California. We're 16th largest in the world, and I oversee the growth of the company, both for recruiting, talent attraction, but also helping agents grow their businesses as well. I'm a 21-year real estate veteran. I've started as an agent just like everyone else, as a broker, owner of a independent firm in Salt Lake City, Utah. Grew that up to about 77 real estate agents before the Great Recession. I was an investor, developed land. And one thing that really is pertinent to what we're going to be talking about is I directly and indirectly closed over 1,000 real estate transactions across 26 states. I've been licensed in Utah, Colorado, Nevada, and California. Currently, I'm still licensed in California. While I'm not a competing agent, I still keep my license active. And the reason why I share that with you is because, you know, prior to 2008, I was always focused in the distressed sales, right? I did short sales before they became a household term. And because of that experience I had, it led me into running a national team for Flagstar Bank. I cleared all their assets across 26 states. And what I had to do was I had to figure out a way to recruit, manage, and train real estate agents from a distance. Now, mind you, this is over 10 years ago. And the way I did that is by creating a educational terminal to recruit and screen real estate agents, but also train them through distant learning. And in addition to that, I did list and sell properties both on short sales, engage in negotiation with potential buyers on these foreclosures via web conferencing. A lot of it was Zoom back then. Zoom isn't what it used to be back then now, but it's pretty amazing. So you might be asking yourself, so what, or why does this matter? The reason why this matters is because nothing in this training is theory, and these are techniques that I've personally implemented over time, and I've trained and I've helped people generate tens of thousands of commission income over the years. And if you stay until the end of this training, here are some things that I want to make sure that you guys walk away with. Number one is how extremely important it is to be able to be found online and how to actually be found online. Number two, I want you to understand the essential components of a complete digital strategy. Now, you're going to hear me say this pretty often. In the real estate space, my point of view, I'm sure you guys probably share the point of view because everybody's on Facebook, 95, majority of real estate agents, the shiny object is all about social media. It's Facebook, Facebook ads, Instagram, it's TikTok. That's where the focus is right now. And I can tell you that is part of a digital strategy. That is not a complete digital strategy. And while most real estate agents focus on that area, almost 100%, what I'm going to be talking about here is a foundation, building a foundation of a digital strategy. And so you can be found, like I said in the first topic, how you can be found online and actually really become the market authority. Number three, when this training's over, you're going to be able to walk away with a unique strategy that will allow you to generate high quality organic leads. Now, in the title, I said without having to spend a ton of money, right? But this type of online organic lead generation is not free. It's sweat equity. It's putting forth the effort, it's laying the groundwork, and that's how you're going to create traffic and leads. So throughout this training, I'm going to start this from really a base level. There's some things that I need to go over that's going to lead us into the overall strategy. So without further ado, I do want to talk to you about what my goal is for this. My goal is simple. I genuinely want you guys to walk away with training that has actionable items in it. Now, some of you, I see the names in here, some of you have attended some of my other training, more kind of niche training. So some of this is going to be maybe a little bit of review on that. Some of you this is your brand new spot to this. Some of you are out of the real estate role-playing group that I founded and manage, where I just focus on sales skills. Well, guys, the world has changed, right? 10 days ago, having a digital strategy was an elective. It was an option, right? Now, 10 days later, having a digital strategy is like having oxygen for your business, right? It's extremely important. My personal belief is that we're not coming out of this as business as usual. I think this is going to forever change a lot of industries. And for those of us that really engage heavily, there's opportunity there. Now, the first challenge that I see with most real estates having, kind of starting from the get-go, is that they try to be everything to everyone everywhere. And that's one of the things that I don't want you to be, is don't try to be everything to everyone. Now, when I first got into the real estate business, it was back in 1999. I was, I don't know, 23 years old or so. I'm in my 21st year, like a 21st year of the business. And I was that guy that was trying to be everything to everybody for everyone. I worked 3 different counties. For those of you that aren't aware of Salt Lake City is a capital. It's in Salt Lake County. And then there's Davis County and Utah County and Ogden County further. So I worked everything. It didn't matter. I drove. If I could get a listing 2 hours away, I would go and do a listing. If I had to show a buyer an hour away, I would do that. But I was young. I was dumb. Inexperienced, and didn't really have a mentor to teach me. So a lot of the things that I've done is through on-the-job training, which is fine. You know, I wouldn't change anything for the world. But in order to really, really grow and to really have a consistent business, number one is you got to focus on listings. And number two is you got to niche down, right? You've got to be a specialist. So the way that you niche down to where you're not being everything to everything, everything to everyone, everywhere, is you've got to first identify who is your ideal client, right? Who is your ideal client? Your ideal client is that person that you've worked with in the past that you get along with, right? The ideal client that you have. Now, every single one of us throughout some course of our time, we've come in contact with people that we either connect with, right? It's like your long lost brother or sister, or the opposite of that. We've come across somebody who we just can't connect with, right? No matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're just not building rapport. And the way that you know that you have rapport is when you feel comfortable. Because if you feel comfortable, they feel comfortable. So we need to really identify who you're going to focus on, because this is extremely important. This is the most important thing about having a digital strategy, right? Is knowing who you're talking to. Now I'm going to help you out on identifying your ideal client. Now I call this your ideal client avatar. Your ideal client is someone who owns a home. Look, guys, we're in real estate. We sell real estate. If somebody doesn't own a home, we can't sell it for them, right? Again, coming from a point of view that we're a listing, we want to create a listing-based business. So they have to own a home. Number two, your ideal client wants to sell it. Now, if you have a person who owns a home and they don't want to sell it, that's not really going to do that. That might be future business, you know, depending on what study you read or what area you live in. The average homeowner lives in their home anywhere between 13 and 22 years, right? So you might be waiting a long time. So they own a home, they want to sell it. Ideal client, not future client, ideal client. And then number three, they live in your primary market area. Now this is a not a strategy, but something that I teach, that you really got to be focused down on what area you work in. Now, a primary market area, I believe, or what I coach and train on, is the area in which you live, right? Because you're already the area expert where you live. You already know the streets, you already know the supermarkets, you already know the shortcuts, depending on where you're at in life, you know the schools. That's your primary market area, not to mention that you can really walk out the door and you can be pretty much anywhere within, you know, a few minutes. Now I say that in Southern California, your primary market area should be 3 to 5 miles. Your home being in the center, a 3 to 5 mile radius from your home. Right now, typically, depending on the day, you know, you could walk out your door and be anywhere within 3 to 5 miles within the next, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes. Except now, I mean, now we're all getting like 3 weeks to a gallon of gas. So, but normally in a primary market area, if you walk out your house, then you can be anywhere within a 3 to 5 mile radius. Now there is one caveat to this, is that if they don't own a home and they want to buy a home in your primary market area, then that would be your ideal client as well, right? But the focus here is listings, to take listings, to service your clients, to get that deal. Look, I was looking at the market statistics. For those of you in California, I was looking at InfoSparks this morning, and I was looking at Orange County, Los Angeles, and Riverside. And if you look at the pending home sales, it's like someone just dropped a rock, right? If you're You know, when you stand over a ledge, you want to see how deep something is or how far it goes down, you drop a rock down there. I mean, you see things and all of a sudden pending home sales just go straight down. I haven't looked at it today. You know, that it's a dynamic number. It changes each day as the MLS gets caught up. But we're looking at anywhere between 50 to 70% reduction in pending home sales, right? And we had 2 weeks of work in March. Now I bring this up because if you're working with buyers, you need to have a listing to sell. And if you have a listing, you need to have a buyer to sell. But my belief, and I think the common belief amongst real estate agents, is that the agent that has the listing controls the market. Because when you have the listing, you have 1,000, well, maybe not that many, but you know, tens or hundreds of agents that are trying to sell your listing, right? Not to mention, you know, in California, the market's been extremely competitive. So that's what the first thing you need to do is really hone down on who your ideal client is. Now, number two is you got to stop being a secret agent, right? You are the area expert, right? You have a lot of knowledge in your head. You could probably represent someone very, very good. You could do a great job with them. But because they don't know you exist, you don't get a chance to get the business, right? Now, we all talk about going on listing appointments and competing with 2 or 3 other agents, right? That's fine, right? At least you're competing. But when you don't exist in the mind of the consumer, has there ever been a time, because it's happened to me, has there ever been a time where your neighbor listed their property, like maybe 2 or 3 houses down, someone that you have a relationship with, and you're like, well, why didn't they use me? And then if you're like me, you ask them why you didn't lose me. And then they're like, well, gee, I didn't know that you were in the business. Now you're talking to yourself, you're internal like, well, how the heck do you not know I'm in the business? Of course you know I'm in the business. But for whatever reason, they didn't know you're in the business, right? That stings, okay? You don't want to be a secret agent. You want everybody to know that you're in business and you're in business to sell real estate. Now, I want to go over how you do this. This is a training that I do. This is typically a 40, 45 minute training. I'm going to condense this down to 5 minutes for the effort of saving time. It gives you the overall strategy of what you need to do. Now, in order to do this, I got to share my screen. Now, this is Google, and I see here up here at the top, I Googled my name. Now, I want you guys, maybe not right now, but I want you guys to go and Google your own name, okay? Because this is what a consumer will do if they're looking for you, right? Now, the key is they have to look for you. So that's another strategy, is to make sure that they know who you are and actually to want to look for you. But number two, if they do actually go and look for you, you've got to be able to be found, right? So number one is you can see, this is a Google incognito window. So I've stripped out all the cookies, all the GPS data from where I'm at. So this is what it would come up with if someone was looking for me. So I am everything on the first page. In fact, you see young Brett here. This is about a few years before I moved to California. I had more hair and it was spiky. But if you look at what you can find on me, every single one of these guys, I gotta put my phone on airplane mode. Otherwise it's gonna keep on chiming. Every single one of this first page is me. Like, I am the only Brett Matsura on planet Earth. Now, I didn't think that my name is that common. I thought that there might be another Brett Matsura, because as I interview and speak with other real estate agents who I think have a more common name than I do, you tend to find something else on them, which is kind of crazy. But anyways, I'm the only, as far as Google's concerned, on the first page. And if you're not on the first page, then we got to work on that. But I'm the only Brett Matsura on planet Earth. So you can see here, I got LinkedIn. This is my Century 21 Zap profile. So for those of you that aren't affiliated with the Realogy company, this is a property search website that is provided. You have my Facebook business page. You have another, actually, here's my Facebook business page again. Zillow my Zillow profile, you got realtor.com, you got YouTube, you got homes.com, you got Quora. So you can see everything that pops up, but then you have this whole section over here that is all me. Now, if you type in your name and there's nothing but a blank space over here and you don't find yourself on the first page, here's what you need to do. Number one, this is how you stop being a secret agent. So, number one, create a Google My Business page. Okay, this is free. This is what this is right here. Okay, now, this is a free advertising for Google. How great would it be that if someone who you're working with, buyer or seller, goes and types in your name and they see you pop up right here instead of a blank white page? Because either A, if they search for you, if you don't have a Google My Business page, either A, they're going to see a blank white page, or B, they're going to see someone with the same name, maybe in the same field, maybe not, and not you, right? Don't you think it would be beneficial that if someone searched you, they'd find this? Now, this is free. Go to google.com/business and follow the instructions. In a normal time, it took 2 weeks to get it up and running. They are going to send a postcard to you to verify your address. I use my my Irvine office address. I don't want to give up my home address, but I do live in Irvine. But you're going to want to work on that. Now, again, I don't know how long it will take given that we're all in confinement, but normally it takes 2-3 weeks because they have to mail the postcard to you. You have to type in a code, all that good stuff. It might take longer, but at least start the process, right? Because that'll pop up. People will always click on that, always click on that. And then there's a whole strategy on how you can use that. Not going to get into that because right now we're just talking about how to be found. Number two is you want to get a YouTube channel. That's extremely important. That's going to tie everything together. You're going to want to get your own domain, have your own personal website, have your own Facebook profile. You have to have a Facebook profile to have your own Facebook business page. You have to get your own Instagram profile, Zillow profile, realtor.com, and LinkedIn profile. The reason why so what you need to do is take this list, screenshot it if you need to, and at the end of this presentation, go out and build a profile on each one of these platforms if you don't already. Now, if you do already, you have to make sure that you optimize it, right? That you make that it's a cohesive personal brand, okay? Your header's the same picture of you, right? Don't use a different picture or a candid picture or a casual picture on one platform and one on another, right? Make sure your name is spelled. Make sure your phone number is correct. Remember back in the day, maybe this is just me, when you had a business card and you made sure your home number was on it, your fax number was on it, your pager number was on it. What am I missing? Your email was on it, your secondary email was on it, your office number was on it, right? You had like 10 numbers on it, right? The confused mind always says no. So you want to make sure that you have a cohesive personal brand across all of these platforms so that, number one, they can tie it all together, right? The Google algorithm can tie everything together. Now, why are we just choosing these? I want to come back here. The reason why we're choosing these, you'll notice I don't do much on LinkedIn, but yet it comes up as the top hit on when you Google me. This has always happened. And why? Well, let's think about this. If somebody wants to get information on me, Google's job is to make sure that it returns the best results, right? So LinkedIn has all my history of experience, all my job experience, and it's a huge networking platform. I'm not going to say social networking platform because it's not social, right? It's business. But really what they're doing, if someone's Googling me, they're probably Googling me for a reason, probably to check out my credentials, check out my resume, and that's up there, right? Again, so make sure that you have that. And then make sure you have a YouTube channel. I'm going to tie it together here in a minute on why you have a YouTube channel. Your own personal website. I've had brettmatsura.com for over 20 years. If you go to brettmatsura.com, it takes you to a search-enabled site. I don't know if you know this, but 44% of all buyers, their very first step in the home buying process is to search a property site. Notice I didn't say Zillow, right? Could be Zillow, could be Trulia, could be Realtor.com, could be your own personal one. The thing is, the first thing they do is they search a property site. So if you don't have a property search site, you need one. But that's where my personal website goes to. Facebook profile, Facebook business page, Instagram profile, Zillow profile, Realtor.com, and then I put the LinkedIn last. I did this in the order of importance to generate leads, not in the importance to gain, optimization in Google. But, if you do all of it, you do both. So now I'm going to tie this into a digital strategy. Now, what is a digital strategy? Now, like I said, when I first started this training, for most real estate agents, a digital strategy is equal to a social media. That's all they do, right? That's all they do is want to be social. Most popular is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok's actually becoming very popular. Not going to dive into this because, the demographic, depending on where you live, like in Southern California, the demographic for social media is best on Facebook. Into Instagram, 70% of all their user base is under the age of 35. Well, if you're in Southern California, that's, the 35 and younger is not a big section of people who are buying homes just because of the price. Facebook is a better platform for that. But you should make sure you have a complete digital strategy. It's a free profile. It's free to engage. You may as well do it. That's about the extent that I'm going to talk to you guys about social. Now, there's another part to a digital strategy, which is search, right? Search being Google, search being YouTube, right? That's why I have these symbols. And here's why that's important. See, I want you guys to think about the consumer's journey, right? So the consumer's journey goes like this. It doesn't matter if it's a house, doesn't matter if they're buying a car, going to a restaurant, buying some shoes. The consumer journey is the exact same. There is a point in time where somebody is ready, willing, and able and wanting to speak with you. We're real estate agents, so let's talk about someone wanting to buy a house or sell a house, right? There's a point in time where they're going to be able to do that. But there's also a point in time, it could be a day, it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years, where that person decides or thinks that, maybe I'll buy a home, or, maybe I should sell my home, right? Again, that could be days, weeks, or months between each other, but the 2 points are the same. Think about it, ready to talk to someone about it. That period in between there is the discovery period, right? And that discovery period is where they're going to do their research. Right now, this will date me, but when I was younger, when I was searching for an answer, when I wanted to know the population of the United States, I had to go to a library, maybe to the school library, maybe to the public library. God, does anyone go to libraries anymore? And sometimes you had to go to 5 different libraries and look at 10 different volumes of encyclopedias to find that one answer, right? But the key is now people are engaged in actually searching for answers. And they're searching for answers until they get to a level of comfort. Now, your level of comfort or your ideal client avatar's level of comfort might be different than mine, right? Different type of personalities take longer discovery periods than other personalities. But I want you to specifically think about this because, again, we're going on a journey, right? I'm laying the foundations to the whole strategy for you guys. I want you to think about, where do people go when they have a question? In fact, I have a slide for that. Where do consumers go when they have a question? Look, they're not going to Facebook. When was the last time you had someone go onto Facebook and search in, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Irvine, California? You don't go to Facebook to search for anything. You don't go there to look for shoes. You don't go there to find a house. You don't go there to get a mortgage. You're going to Facebook. You're going to Instagram. You're going to social media to be social, right? You're going there to see what your friend's eating for lunch, or you're going there to share with them what you're eating for lunch. Now, the valuable thing about social media is that there are millions of eyeballs on it, right? That's where people go. right? So it's great for advertising. Yes, there are strategies where you can gain organic exposure. That's what we're not talking about here though, right? We're talking about, and there's other training that I have on that specifically, but we're talking about how to be discovered, right? Where do people go when they have questions? That's the question that we have. Well, I'm sure you guys already answered this in your head. They go to Google, right? They go to Google for questions, right? How to buy a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, right? They're Googling certain keywords to get back the result that they want. And so the question comes up is, how do you make yourself, how do you find someone when they're in their discovery period, right? Because let's think about this. If we know that the 2 points are true, ready to talk to someone, thinking about it, right? And as they go through their discovery period, they're getting closer and closer and closer, willing to talk to somebody, right? But as of right now, those are the 2 points, right? When you start engaging the consumer that's ready to talk to somebody, now you're competing for their business, right? It's already a competitive space. With this shutdown of society, with the shutdown of the economy, look, we're in for a doozy of competition, right? Some people aren't going to make it. That's my personal opinion. But how do you find someone? How do you find someone in their discovery page, right? In their discovery phase? Well, here's the deal. Your digital objective is to make sure that you can be discovered. The way that you find someone in their discovery period, either A, you can prospect, you could call around every home, you can get tax records, and you can call around every single homeowner and ask them if they're ready to buy. But here's the thing, depending on where they're at in their discovery period, they might just blow you off anyways. It's no different than all of us walking into a clothing store with full intention of buying something, and the person comes out and says, "Can I help you?" And you're like, "No, I'm just looking," right? It's the same concept. Until they're ready to actually have a conversation with someone, they're not ready to talk to anyone. They're doing their own research. So the best way that you can find somebody in their discovery phase is to make sure that you are discoverable in their phase, right? Now, how do you do that? Really glad you asked that. Number one, content is king, okay? You must create content that answers the questions that your ideal client is seeking to answer during their discovery phase. Now, how do you do that? Okay, well, it's actually a really simple process. You have to get inside the idea of your client's mind. This is why it's important that you have to first identify who your ideal client is, right? Where they're at in the phase. You know, I have a buddy, his ideal client, he's in the mortgage space. About 10 years ago, he decided that he's just going to focus only on physicians. That's it. So all he was focusing on is just working, getting loans for physicians. And so he got into the head of his ideal client, and he started thinking about what are the questions that physicians would ask when searching for a home, right? If you guys don't know this, when someone is coming out of their residency, there are certain types of loans that are made available to them to use that as work history, although they're getting paid that much. And they start basing stuff off of future income. So you need to get very, very clear on who your ideal client is, and then you need to get in their head. You know, get in their head, meditate. There are some, take some time, zen out, and really start focusing what the questions are in your ideal client's head. Now, we are going through some crazy times right here. I promise you, if we agree that the ideal client is someone who owns a home, wants to sell it, and lives by you, if we can agree to those, and or there's someone who doesn't own a home and wants to buy it, or a combination of the two, someone who owns, wants to sell and buy, I promise you there are questions going on in their head. What's going on with the market? What is going on with the market? I just shared with you guys on InfoSparks that we just saw like someone dropped a rock, right? Right? Usually going back up, going uphill is a lot harder than going downhill, especially if you just rappelled off of a building, right? You fast rope down. So what's going on with the market? That's probably something that your ideal client's talking about. What kind of keywords will they go and search in Google, right, for that? You know, and you know, you got to think about these things. Number two, how much are homes selling for? Well, I believe that homes are going to sell for much less going forward than what they sold for where we just came from, right? I believe that the time to sell your home was more than 10 days ago, right? Now, some of you might have commonly heard, I sold our house 2 years ago, and then we just rented it in another part of Irvine because I thought that was the top of the market, right? I was wrong. Probably could have got another 3, 4, 5 points at my house if we held out. But you know what? I would much rather have been 2 years early than a day late or a week late, right? So I promise you that they're very much worried about what's going on with home selling, both from a competitive standpoint, both from a value standpoint, on both sides, right? Buyers and sellers are both worried about home selling. How do I sell my home? That's a really great question right now. Somebody needs to sell a home. We're all in confinement. How do they sell their home? How do you sell a home when we're market? So that's something that somebody's looking for. You know, another question is, how does my home compare to other homes, right? What's the competition like? All of these are questions, common questions that come up. As you get to know your ideal client avatar that much more, then you're going to be able to come up with questions specifically to them. And you have to think of these in the phrases of not necessarily what's going on with their head, as much as how are they going to go and type it into Google to actually get you that response, okay? And that kind of ties in, how do I buy a home? Okay, someone who doesn't own a home wants to buy it. How do you buy a home? So these are other questions. Okay, so now you have to focus on the platforms of where they go to answers. Now you hear me talk about Google and you hear me talk about YouTube. The reason why I talk so much about those two platforms is because if you're not on Google, Google has 92% of the world search. 92%, right? This is the lowest number that I could find off of an official study. Some studies have it as much as 96, 97%. I'm going on the conservative side. Bing, the other, the next closest one is like 3%, right? So everything that you do, you need to optimize based on the way that the Google algorithm works because they're the biggest, right? You succeed on Google, you succeed on Yahoo, you succeed on Bing, you succeed on MSN. Number two, you're not going to be able to compete traditionally SEO. I want to show you guys something. Okay. So this other tab that I did a very common search, a home buyer, Irvine homes for sale, right? A buyer would go and click in Irvine homes for sale, and this is what they're going to find. You're going to see Villages of Irvine, Great Park. These are ads. These guys are spending a boatload of money, more money than you and I collectively have to have we might be able to afford a few weeks of this, but you know, these guys are probably getting charged anywhere between 50, 60 bucks a click, if not more. A click. We're not talking about a lead, just a click on it. That's how much they're getting charged. Irvine Real Estate, Zillow.com, we got Trulia.com, we got Redfin. Okay, these are super huge sites. You know, Zillow, of course, is the one that everybody loves to hate. I got nothing against them. I think they're neither here nor there. In fact, the strategy I'm going to be sharing with you is becoming your own personal Zillow, right? And I'll talk to you guys more about that in a second. But you're not going to be able to compete with them on an SEO standpoint, meaning the written word. Okay, you can't write enough words to catch up to these guys to rank first page on Google. So you either A, have to have a longer search term, or B, you're going to compete on a different front. You see, YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet. It's the largest video library on planet Earth, and it's owned by Google. In fact, the Google algorithm is the same algorithm that governs both Google and YouTube. In fact, if you Google something, you may have noticed that both pictures and videos are starting to come up. Well, video is 50 times more likely to appear on the first page of Google than the traditional written word, right? So going back to this, if we know that you're not going to compete, right? People say go start a blog and start writing content. Look, you're going to have to be writing for like 1,000 years before you catch up to these guys, because the amount of content that these guys produce each and every day, there's not enough time in the world for us to do it on our own, right? So you've got to be ingenuine. But what you'll see here is on this screen is that there's no video. There's zero video. Now, one might think that, gosh, maybe no one's creating videos for Irvine Homes for Sale. But then when you go over to YouTube and using the same keyword, yes, there are indeed quite a few videos for Irvine Homes for Sale. But what you'll see here is that there's no consistency, and most of these are going to be slideshows put to music, right? Now, when I say consistency, we're looking for the same person updating the same channel. So there's no one who's really doing this on a consistent effort. And number two, most of these are going to be slideshows. So that's what you're competing with. And the reason why you're not seeing anything pop up on Google, the Google first page, is because basically what that's saying is that there is no video content for these keywords that warrant or that is valuable enough for the algorithm to return that as a search result on the first page. First page is coveted, right? I have yet, in all the areas that I've seen, that I've researched, and I do quite a bit, right? I oversee the recruiting and talent attraction. So every time I meet with an agent, I do a deep dive on them and their area and the market area. And we have 9 Southern California offices. I've done a deep dive on each one of those offices, doing the same type of strategy that I'm doing with you guys. No videos on any of the major areas, right? Because the value that Google looks at the video content that's being created does not qualify to be in that coveted position. Right? Does that make sense? So I kind of laid the groundwork. Now I want to tie it together with the overall strategy for you guys. Summary of what we know so far. So number one, tying it all together, our ideal client avatar is seeking answers online. You know it, I know it. I do it daily, hourly, right? Just had stuff delivered by Amazon. I found toilet paper delivered by Amazon. It was 3 times the price, but we still got it. But your ICA, my ICA, right? They are online. They are searching online. They are searching for properties online. We know that, but they're also searching for information online, right? So you got to be found. They're not searching for information on social media. Let's remember that, because they're going to Google and they're going to YouTube for answers. If you're going to Google for answers, by default, you're going to end up on YouTube, depending on the questions that you're asking, right? Some people just go, like me, I go directly. Every time I have a how-to question, I go to YouTube. But what you'll find is if you have a how-to question and you put it in Google, it still pops up in YouTube, right? Options and then other things. So that's where they're going. Number 3, probably the most important thing, is that the competition is focusing on social. Look, guys, most people, this is going to sound horrible, most people operate a lot like sheep, right? They look and see what others are doing, and they just follow what others are doing. So they look and see what some of these perceived big agents are, or maybe they are a big agent. They look and see what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying and everything that's going on social media. And so they automatically go in that same path, right? Well, look, there are, I read a study. I think this was NAR. This was an NAR study, right? 1 out of every 5 real estate agents are in Southern California. 1/5. 1/5 of all agents are in Southern California. High competition. So if everybody is focusing on social media, I've seen a lot of of ads. I've seen a lot of people on real estate just annoying the crap out of me on social media, right? You guys are probably seeing the same thing. Everybody's going there. And if everybody's not, a high percentage is 95, 99%. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a strategy for that. There is a strategy for social, right? But it shouldn't be everything, right? Don't go all in on it. But because everybody's focusing on that, because everybody's looking left, you should look right, okay? And that, my friends, presents opportunity, right? There is more opportunity right now with things are going on because people have questions, because real estate agents, professionals like us, we've got time on our hands. Not me, for whatever reason, I've been spending more time working from home than I have when I was ever at the office, but I do a lot of training, right? I was doing online training. Some of you met with me online or have been offered an opportunity to meet with me online to talk about your business. I was doing that well before 10 days ago, right? But there's opportunity now because you have time, you have bandwidth, and I'm going to give you the strategy of how to put it all together. Now, you're going to have questions about the technical side of things. There is a technical learning curve to it. I'm not going to lie about that. But that's less important than having the overall strategy. If you have the strategy, if you understand the strategy, right? If you're right here and you know you got to get here, you can figure out a way to get there, right? And that's where the opportunity lies. So the key to dominating on digital is to position you and your personal brand as the area expert, right? Now notice what I said. I said you and your personal brand. Your personal brand, this is tying into another training I'm doing about value proposition, but your personal brand is what separates you from competing on price or from competing on cost versus competing on overall value, right? Your personal brand is your professional image. Your personal brand is your market knowledge, is your experience in real estate, is the things that you provide, how you sell homes. That's all your personal brand, right? If all you did was offer the same thing as everybody else, then all you can do is compete on who could get to the lowest commission as possible, right? You're on a race to zero, right? If all you're going to do is pitch to the seller, hey, I have the MLS. Hey, I'm going to put it on websites. I'm going to do an open house. Nope, we're not doing open houses. Forget that one. I'm going to call your neighbors, right? If that's all you're going to do, and the other person is going to just offer the same thing, now all you're going to do is whoever has the lowest cost is going to win. You and your personal brand needs to focus on what you provide as service, and that is your personal brand. Like everybody has the MLS. Everybody has, any real estate agent has the MLS. Everybody can write a contract, right? Everybody, when we're out of confinement, can go knock on doors, right? But it's your personal brand is your secret sauce. That's what makes you the difference, right? That's the difference of if you were facing some serious legal issues. That's the difference of hiring the guy right out of passing the bar versus the guy with the 20 years of experience, right? You're going to pay much differently for the experience than inexperience. That's where your personal brand comes up. That's all I'm laying on that because, as I said, I'll take a tangent. How do you become a market expert? Well, number one, kind of reiterate what we've already talked about. Identify your primary market area. Niche down, right? Be an area expert, right? 3 to 5 miles. If you're in Southern California, 3 to 5 miles is all you need, right? I know that within a 3 to 5 mile, well, actually from where I live, a month ago from where I live, there are 100 properties that sell in my given area with an average sales price of north of 800,000 within 3 miles of my house. 100 properties a month. Holy cow, right? I don't need 100 properties a month. 1 a month would be great. 2 would be better, right? Especially at that sales price. So there's enough business for most of us in your backyard that you don't need to travel 2 hours for a listing, right? You don't need to travel another 2 hours for that buyer. You don't need to. So identify a primary market area and become the know-all of that area. Become the expert. Now here's how you do it. Preview properties. Now we can't preview property physically, so we have to adjust the strategy. If we were talking 30 days ago, the strategy is all about physically previewing properties, okay? Now it's easier. It's digitally previewing properties. And you digitally preview 5 properties a day, okay? Then when you digitally preview that property, again, I'm talking about the overall strategy. There's probably a lot of questions on how do I do this, how do I do that, especially with this next comment I'm gonna make. Let's get through the strategy first. Once you preview that property, do a market, give your opinion of that property. Look, the most important thing about real estate is pricing property, right? If you price it right, you sell it fast. If you price it wrong, you don't. This is going to be a challenging time going forward because our market is so out of whack. How do you price a property like this, right? If we go solely off the historic data, you don't want to price it like that because the bottom has fell out of the demand. And nobody knows, you know, regardless of how optimistic you are, nobody knows for sure how fast that demand is going to return, right? 10 million people lost their job in 2 weeks across the United States. My guess is not all of them are going to go to work day one and be back into the position to buy a house, right? Plus all this other stuff that's going on. It's going to be a nightmare. Anyways, you're going to do a video review of that property and you're going to optimize that video review of the property to talk and answer the questions that your ideal client has in their head. For instance, if I preview a property in my house, let's say my ideal client, someone who owns a home, wants to sell it, lives by me, right? Lives in Irvine. Let's say I hone it down even more. I believe that your best ideal client is someone who's most like yourself. So I have elementary school age children. I have one 4-year-old going into transition kindergarten next year. He's in preschool now, and I have a daughter, 8-year-old, who's in 2nd grade. So I have a lot of knowledge about an area. And so if I'm creating a video and I'm going to talk about schools, I'm going to talk about playgrounds, I'm going to talk about the amenities of the property. Maybe if it's on a cul-de-sac, you know, that's important to a young family because, you know, less traffic. If there's a double yellow line in the middle of the road, we know that there's a lot of traffic. So there's probably some things that I'm going to talk about on that. You can't physically go and see the property, but what if you could go and drive by the property, right? You can do an intro to that. You can create a video of that. The video shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 minutes long. Now, the question I always get is, well, Brett, can I market somebody else's property? You're not marketing someone else's property. You are given a review. No different than if you went to a restaurant and you did a review on the restaurant, right? There's a home for sale, maybe a home that expired, and you're doing a review on that. Homeowners who want to sell their home wants to know about the competition. Home buyers want to know what your opinion is of a property. They're searching for these. Do you think that there's ever been a time where a buyer's driven by a house and they typed that address and typed it into Google? I do that all the time. Now, I'm an area professional, but I believe that based on the fact that the majority of people, 94%, or was it 92% of the world uses Google, my guess is that there's a lot of people Googling addresses, right? So you're going to optimize your video to answer questions during that time for your ideal client avatar. And then you're going to distribute your video content. So look, this is where social media comes in from this. You've got to have a personal profile to have a business page. And to have a business page, you use that to send ads. What if you create this video and your distribution of that video is going to punch it out to an area, right, of your ideal client, right, using Facebook. See, that's how I would use Facebook as a distribution method. Because if you just created a video, it's going to take some time to build up information. And after you distribute that content, I want you to watch what happens, okay? Now, the question is, how well do you know the market if digitally researched every home in the market, right? Think about that. If you spent time You drew an area of a 3 to 5 mile radius around your house. Or maybe you just took the zip code. Maybe you just picked a school district. There's different ways that you can do this. And this is a single strategy. You can have multiple ones going on, but I wouldn't encourage you to add on to another one until you got one running. But think about it. If you took the time right now and you just did a deep dive on 5 properties in your neighborhood, how well are you going to know the market? Right? Now, this strategy is different when we get released, and I'll talk about it when it's actually different because it goes into the strategy of actually previewing properties physically. But can you imagine how well you're going to, what if you did a CMA on every single home on the market? We all got time. Let's be honest. We all have time. So what if you did a market analysis on every single home on it, and then you did a review on the property about its price, about its condition, about what's going on in the area? Do you think that's something valuable? Do you think that's something that your ideal client is actually looking for? Of course it is. Okay, next slide. So here's the digital effect to it. If you did 5 video reviews a day, that's 100 video reviews a month. 100 video reviews a month. I promise you most real estate agents don't have 1 video, let alone 10. Far from 100. In 3 months' time, you've had 300 video reviews. Now, as of right now where I live, in 3 mile radius, about 2.5 mile radius, as of more than 10 days ago, there are about 350 properties for sale in that market area, which means if no new home came onto the market in a 3-month time period, I would have reviewed every single property in the market. Now, not only are you going to be the expert, like honestly, the expert knowing everything that's going on with the market prices and everything, in a year, you're going to have 1,000 video reviews of the property in your market. And I want you to think about this. This is where you start getting organic traffic, right? Now think about this. This doesn't work if you do 1 video on Tuesday and you forget about it. This only works if you're consistent over time. It doesn't work if you take 100 videos and download it on day 1. It doesn't work that way, right? As you consistently put out video content, valuable content, right? Things that your ideal client avatar wants to learn about. If you put that out, you have a very 3 to 5 mile confined area. Every video that you do is going to be, you're going to put the address in there. It's going to know where you created the video. It's going to be optimized. It's going to also optimize the search based off of the people searching for it, right? So in this very confined area, you've got 10 videos, you've got 20 videos, you got 100 videos, you got 200 videos, you got 300 videos, you got 4,000, 5,000 videos. When you have that much unique content in a very confined area, you get attention from the search algorithm, Google and YouTube, right? Now what's going to happen is that when people go and search for things, either in the area, either a specific property or around that property, what's going to happen is that some of your content is going to start showing up. And when that content starts showing up, that creates traffic, right? And when you create traffic, you redirect that traffic to your searchable website, right? Now, our company provides a searchable website to every single one of our agents. Depending on what company you're with, they may or may not. Doesn't really matter what you use. You can buy one, Real Geeks, Boomtown. I mean, there's a hard cost to it. But the key is that it's a searchable site. It's something that you use, like Zillow. Zillow is nothing but an engine that takes traffic and it punches out leads. Okay, it's a lead generation engine, right? So when people say, tell me that Google, or excuse me, Zillow steals their leads, I think they're foolish, because there were no leads until the traffic went into their engine, right? But you're doing the same thing, right? You're taking the time to create valuable content, and you're going to consistently create valuable content so it creates traffic. Then you're going to redirect that traffic to a lead conversion page, right? Now, if it's a buyer, it should be a searchable website. If it's a seller, it should be something like a neighborhood report, a market report, something of value that they would actually exchange their information for in order to get that report, right? This is kind of some of the technical stuff. The reason why Zillow and everyone gets a bad rap about the quality of leads that come in, because garbage in, garbage out, right? If you have garbage traffic in, and they don't care about the traffic, they just want traffic and they want leads, right? Zillow leads or online leads convert anywhere between 1% and 3%. But they want massive amount of traffic going in because they know if they get massive amount of traffic, they're going to punch out a certain amount of leads. Then they sell those leads. But for you, right, you're focusing on local, valuable content. Valuable content over time will create organic traffic. Organic traffic in comes organic leads, local leads out, right? Then you work that process. So that's it, guys. That's it in a nutshell. Promises kept. Let's look at this. Number one, how do you be found online, right? Right after this, if you go and spend an hour, hour and a half, optimize your online profiles, go to that list. If you screenshot it, go to that list, LinkedIn, YouTube, go and create those online profiles. Make sure you have continuity. Make sure you have the right photo, the same photo. Make sure that your bio is the same, your phone number is the same, all that stuff. Over time, you'll be found. That will actually, if you're not being found online right now, if you do this one thing, probably in a week or 2 or 3, you're going to really start seeing yourself being found. So that's a really good thing. Number 2, understand the essential components of a complete digital strategy. Right? 1 part social, 1 part search. Right? While everyone's focused on social, that's the complete strategy. You can't have one without the other. You'll have a unique strategy that will allow you to generate high quality organic leads. Look, guys, we're focusing on listing leads. We're focusing on taking listing business. And the way that you do that is understand who your ideal client avatar is. Where are they? Provide unique and valuable content. Get in their head. Start answering questions that they have. And start redirecting that traffic. Create organic, local traffic. Put that through your lead generation machine. Punch out high quality, local leads, right? Now, we didn't talk about skills, sales skills. You could generate a ton of leads and not be very good at skills and you'll still get something, right? But if you increase your skill, like some of you are in the role-playing group, if you focus on honing your skills, knowing how to approach someone, what to say, how to say, have a great follow-up program to it, you got to work those leads that come in. You don't want to put all this time and effort into it, only for it to fail in the conversion part, right? We talked about the first 2 steps, creating content, generating leads. Then there's lead follow-up. Now you have to convert that lead into a client, right? So that's it. Okay, guys, so a few of you are still online. I have some questions here. Let me check them out. Got some thank yous. You're very much welcome. Okay, guys, so if you have a question, go ahead and hit chat. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question. I do want to give a plug to the company. If you're in Southern California, if you guys are looking for a place that provides this type of training, that provides you the technology, provides you the skills or the training and the resources to do everything that I talked about, I would love to talk to you about maybe joining our organization. It's very simple. I put together a business discovery call where we talk about your goals, where you want to take it, and how we might be able to help you. We front load the cost of all technology and such. We look at ourselves as a business partner with our agents. So if that's something that you might be interested in having a conversation on, then please reach out to me. You should have my email based in this registration, and I would be happy to talk to you about it. So if there's any questions, I'm going to go ahead and answer them now. Doesn't look like that. So guys, I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit through this training. I hope it was of value to you. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks for watching. Bye.